Did you think I was done? Not a chance. I told you we have to catch up today. So, let's get cracking, shall we? Hello, everyone, and welcome once again today back down to the Gamer's Den. Here with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. We are covering 7th level spells now. Like I said, we're trying to get caught up. So, we are going to dive right into it since you already know the whole spiel and backstory about me missing my wisdom teeth right now. Now, to start us off with 7th level spells, we're going with an absolute favorite series of mine, and that is Summon Monster 7. With this one, now you can summon Vrox, Behir, Greater Elementals, as well as multiple other creatures from other Summon Monster spells. What's not to love with this one? And you have some other interesting alternate options as well, too. And really consult your DM on what is and what isn't allowable, and maybe even see if you can't switch out a couple of things that are of equivalent levels, because this list is kind of stacked with evil creatures. You might want to see about maybe possibly swapping in a good or even a couple of lawful neutral or chaotic neutral creatures in here, just in case you don't really want to be a witch that is of the evil variety. Although that's really easy to do. Then after that we have Artificer's Curse, and this is one that I really like. Now, you do have the Dispel magic spells from before in 6th level, and then the lesser version, I forget however many levels back at the moment. But Artificer's Curse, close range spell, 25 feet plus 5 feet per level. It lasts 1 minute per level, and it's a will save to negate. This spell will reduce the caster level of a magic item by an amount equal to your own caster level. Any numeric bonus provided, so deflection bonus, armor bonus, luck bonus, attack bonus, gets reduced by 1 for every 4 caster levels you have. And if you reduce the caster level of the object to 0, you suppress all magical abilities and effects generated by that item. This is great to have. You're not going to use this every day, but when you confront that big, bad, evil bastard that's been getting hyped up over the course of your campaign, or even just over the course of the adventure, and they bring out some badass, terrible, havoc-wreaking, destruction-having kind of object, artifact, weapon. Well, this doesn't really have much of an effect on artifacts, but any kind of high-end magic item with all kinds of abilities, you want this item, because you throw this down on there, they fail that will save, and you suppress all those magical abilities. It's wonderful. And being that you're a witch and can force them to make rerolls on will saves and the like, this is absolutely essential for you to have to screw with the enemy's game plan. Reducing their high-end magic item to a useless nub is going to be absolutely essential, incredibly useful to have. And then after that we have Arcane Sight, the greater version. Lasts 1 minute a level. Your eyes are going to glow blue, and you can see magical auras within 120 feet. And it works like the Detect Magic spell, but it finds the locations and power of magic auras much more quickly. The lesser 3rd level version of the spell can be made permanent. The greater version cannot, but greater will allow you to instantly see and assess which spells and effects are active on an individual or object that you see. And really, who doesn't just love the idea of walking around with glowing blue eyes all the time? Or if you don't want to get your eyes specifically enchanted, get a monocle, get a set of glasses, something that's just dapper, awesome, and fashionable for your character to carry around. Easily becomes an iconic part of your character's identity. But continuing on, 7th level is just full of so many wonderful choices, like Greater Teleport. It works like teleport, but now you have no range limit, and there is no chance of being off and suffering the absolutely dire consequences of having little teleportation mishaps happen, like arm stuck in the wall and has to be severed from the wall. and maybe regenerated later if you're lucky and have that spell. But you can even teleport to places you only have descriptions of. And if you get bad information and you can't actually or you just can't actually teleport to the place you're wanting to go, say it doesn't exist, you just kind of blink in and out of existence and appear right back at the location where you were casting the spell. No harm, no foul. A wasted 7th level spell slot maybe, that kind of hurts, but it's better than being dead or horribly maimed. Then we get planar refuge. Now, the reason why I like this one, it affects a 50-foot radius area of a safe, stable-ish sort of environment. It lasts 1 day per level. This spell enforces the rules of the prime material plane upon another plane. So if you're in the abyss, you can create a safe, livable pocket that is otherwise normal and safe for you in a very, very hostile environment. It creates healthy, edible plants. This is absolutely a must-have for planar adventures, and best of all, it can be made permanent. Costs about 7,500 or so gold pieces to do so, but what's not to like about having a nice little safe hidey hole on somewhere hostile like the Abyss? It's a nice little getaway spot. Very few people are going to want to try to track you here and are even going to be able to track you to such a place. But it doesn't just have to be the Abyss. It can be anywhere in the plains, anywhere where you have a large enough area to make the spell work. Then we have plane shift. You need to be able to get to these different planes. So with plane shift, you can either touch one target yourself or up to 8 willing targets that are holding hands. Will save to negate, but you and your friends can travel to other planes or dimensions with this spell. Precision travel is going to be tricky. You're not going to be able to get right to your little planar refuge. This will take you to anywhere from 5 to 500 miles from your intended destination. With that said, it is probably going to be your fastest method of planar travel. Just make sure if you pop into a spot that's dangerous, you have this memorized twice. So that way you can shift yourselves right back out of danger again and back to the other place. So, with that said, we come on down to the still useful spells with Waves of Exhaustion. It's a 60-foot range and it's a cone-shaped burst. Offers no saves. Spell resistance still applies, but no saves. You make all living creatures in that cone exhausted. Now, that's the tricky part, though, is living creatures. Now, a -6 to strength and dexterity, forcing targets to move at half speed and making them being unable to run or charge, that's great. But at this level, by the time that you get 7th level spells, you're going to be fighting more than just living creatures. You're going to be fighting constructs, extraplanar creatures, elementals. So many different kinds of creatures that are going to be immune to the exhausted status effect. That said, though, the living opponents you do come across at this level are still going to be relatively dangerous in and of themselves. Hitting them with exhaustion is going to be handy. A -6 to dex and strength is nothing to sneeze at, although, again, your most dangerous targets are not necessarily going to be the classes that rely on those stats. But this is still useful. Area of effect, no saving throw, and if you catch a nice group of enemies, say even 4 of them, applying this kind of a penalty to them is going to be useful. And then we have Visions of Doom. Now, this one is just beautiful. Fits with the witch's motif overall. It's thematically appropriate, and I like the effect that it has. I think it's actually fairly effective. Unlimited range, only 1 target, and will saves do negate, but it works like the Nightmare spell, preventing a target from getting a full night's rest and forcing them to take 1d10 points of damage. This also allows you to send a ride-along spell with them that will affect the target when they wake up. Now, it can't be any kind of a spell that affects an area, deals any sort of hit point damage, and it has to be below 6th level. But You can throw down all kinds of curses, all kinds of other things that will only affect one target. So, enemy mage that you know of, hit them with this spell. Give them a curse on top of the fact that they cannot regenerate their spells for the day because you prevented a good night's rest for them. Now, the next one is still a bit iffy for me, but I have to admit mechanically it is great, and that is the heal spell. It's a touch range spell, which is, it's dangerous for you to be that close in combat. It only affects one target. And again, normally healing is not the thing you do. You are too squishy to be that close to frontline combat. But this is going to heal 10 hit points per level, topping out at 150 hit points. And it's going to remove most negative status conditions. So, somebody uses Wave of Exhaustion on your party, you need the party's fighter or ranger, barbarian, or paladin to get back into the thick of things, hit them with the heal spell, remove that status effect, top off their hit points, and get them back out there into the thick of the fight. This is great to have, and as a bonus, it's going to act like the harm spell against the undead, so it's going to deal 150 points of damage straight to the undead creature that you touch with this. Now, you don't want to be that close to the undead, but hey, if they get close to you, you have the spell handy. 150 points of damage is nothing to sneeze at. Definitely hit them with this. And then we have Hollow Heroism Greater. There's also a lesser version. You touch a creature, this is going to last 1 minute per level, and it works like the Greater Heroism spell, but with a standard action. If the target's within medium range, you can reverse it and give them a -4 penalty to attack, saving throws, and skill checks, as well as a -8 penalty to saves versus fear effects. Mostly I have this on here because it feels like something a witch would do. It's duplicitous action for sure, and it's going to require some duplicity on the witch's part, which again kind of fits with the witch overall, but mechanically this is not the best spell, especially since you start off giving an opponent a bonus. It's one you can switch at will, but it takes a standard action. It's something that's set up for something that's story appropriate. You know, you throw two targets in against each other, and you know, an ally and an enemy, and you pretend to be on your enemy's side somehow, however the story goes, however you can set it up, and they're dueling either in a court, in an arena, some kind of official thing where it's just about as guaranteed as you could possibly make it to be only one-on-one combat. But the other person's, your opponent's conniving, they want bonuses, so you hit them with this Greater Heroism spell. They don't trust you. They have somebody to make sure that the spell is actually what it casts. And this spell will register as the Greater Heroism spell. Handy, handy, handy to have there. And they go in there thinking they've got this buff, and they do have this buff. Maybe you let the fight go on for a round or two, let them feel their power here, and then bam, you switch it on them and make them realize, ah, crap, the tide has turned. But a -4 penalty is not huge. It's great that it affects so many things, and that -8 on fear effects is great, but I don't know, it's from a purely mechanical standpoint, it's not the best and requires a fair bit of setup through story work and everything in order for it to be effective. It's one that you can easily pass up if you're looking to make an optimized build. And then we have Bestow Planar Infusion. At this point, you're using the greater version of the spell, and I'd actually recommend you hold out for the greater version. It's going to last 1 hour level, which is great, and it's going to give you some sets of bonuses. Now, what those bonuses are depends on the plane that you're on, and that's why I kind of rate the spell as being kind of a red. It's kind of crap. Depending on the plane you're on, the bonuses are going to vary, and you'll have 3 sets of bonuses: the least, lesser, and greater versions of the spell. the bonuses are not created equal, and really it's for the lesser versions you're getting mostly +2 bonuses on things. It's really not going to count a lot for you or your party at this point. Maybe if your DM allows you some great clever uses on this spell might be a bit better, but really as it is, I don't like it, even for a non optimized build. I don't know that I would pick this spell up. It's just it's a little too dependent on the planes you're on, and as written, it's not that great. And the last one here, Phasic Challenge. This one was designed purely with story stuff in mind. Maybe it'll work and pair well with that Hollow Heroism spell, but it's probably designed with DMs in mind. The range is short at 25 feet plus 5 feet per level. It affects a 60-foot area and 2 targets, and it lasts 1 round a level, will save to negate. You're going to isolate 1 ally and 1 enemy together, and they're only going to be able to affect each other. No matter what spells they're throwing, whatever they're doing in there, they're only going to affect one another or themselves. The opponent that's trapped in there can make a saving throw, the will saving throw each turn to try to end the spell. Otherwise, it ends when the time is up, 1 person drops to unconsciousness, or 1 person is dead. You never, ever, ever want to isolate an ally with an opponent who might be a serious threat. And if they're not a serious threat, well, why are you isolating your ally in with an opponent who's not that great of a threat? If you're putting a fighter in with a goblin, why did you do that? That's a waste of a 7th level spell. Just let the fighter swing away on the goblin and maybe get a couple of cleave hits in on the rest of the goblin friends that are probably there, since goblins are just about never ever ever alone, or hobgoblins or orcs for that matter. Fighter belongs on the front lines, dicing as many enemies apart as possible. Again, this is something that's probably built with story in mind, and from a story standpoint, I love this spell. And DMs out there, if one of your players is a witch and they use this spell on an NPC and a player who have a significant amount of backstory, or over the course of the campaign or adventure have had a lot of encounters with one another, whether combat or social or whatever, maybe consider making that NPC, if they're a dire threat, maybe ease off on the throttle a little bit and make the fight just a tad easier, so it's a more exciting one-on-one duel, if that does come up. Otherwise, if it's your own NPC witch who is isolating one of the party members with their champion, then, don't worry about easing off on the throttle. Make the players have to hustle and figure out, oh crap, how do we get rid of this bubble so we can save our friend? This is a terrible situation for us to be in. Then, that's a whole nother thing. But, be willing to kind of roll with things a little bit. If the players are going to do something that awesome story-wise as to create a situation where the one player gets their duel with a hated long-term rival, enemy, frenemy, whatever, roll with it a little bit and make it a cool moment. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Aside from some video editing, I am now going to call it off here and get some sleep. If you enjoyed today's video, well, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that fun jazz, and thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience and sticking with me throughout all of these different trials and tribulations. I'm going to go take my medicine and rest my jaw now.